Okay. Yeah, you caught me there in the midst of little Donald Fagan. Welcome, everybody. It's Prosperity Monday. How are y'all? So good to see you. Let me turn that off and get over here and come over here and say, yeah, it's all cool. So away we go. So I trust you had a great Saturday and Sunday. Trust you made it the best that you could make it and that it was fun. And thank you for being a part of this journey. It is an honor, a joy to be with all of you when we get together. We discuss a lot, lots of different opinions, but you know what? That's how rivers flow. Rivers are made up of many smaller tributaries, and then we empty into the big one. So there we go. Pingridi, what's up? Good to see everyone. Let me just speak favor over us all. Nothing missing, nothing broken. Prosperity is abounding in our lives and be of service to others. And hey, happy birthday or anniversary. You got one. So good to see you. Susie Q, hello, my love. How you doing? John Price, what's up, brother? Joyce, good to see you. And Robert, good to see you as well. Joe, what's up? Hello, I'm Nancy. How you doing, darling? Melissa, good to see you, Mr. C. Elderberry, a little cold here, isn't it? David Berry, how are you, my friend? Cooking time. Yeah, it would be about dinner time, wouldn't it? Yeah, cool. Save a plate for me. And what's on the menu, David Barry? I want to know. Go, good to see you as well. Jill, hello. Emperor Rex. Belanca, how are you, my dear? How are the kids? Is that Zuvawa? Is that right? Welcome you. I hope I didn't butcher that too bad. If I did, well, it's just how I am. Cheers, everyone. Someone said, you like your tea? I do like my tea. My wife says it's a little strong, but I don't know. To each one their own taste. But yes, I do. Jargo, what's up? Good to see you. I think I saw Gilbert. What's up, buddy? And Tina, good to see you as well. Grace, so many people. Thank you for hitting the like button. And as we get started, so freaking much going on in the world. I grew up, I enjoy the age that I'm at. It's a privilege to be able to experience each phase of the cycle here. And it's nothing to get bummed out about. I mean, it's just the progress. To be candid with you, I wouldn't want to be a teenager again. It sucks. It just does. And yeah, we all remember, but that's only because of the youth. I mean, quite frankly, think about it, those that suffered from acne. I didn't, but I knew people that did. The thing about it was our bodies were still in development. And, adolescents and teenage years, they're awkward. A lot of hormone dumping going on, chemicals changing. And it's quite frankly, I think it's what you have to, it's part of the spell. You have to go through that. But the dividend is it's your youth. So anyway, I digress, but there's a lot going on and I have seen a lot. And, I'm at that age where I actually knew the previous generations. My time, along with others, will come and, we won't know these future generations. If the reincarnation thing is real, it's sad. If that's really the purpose, it's sad because this is a sad place at times. It really is. But that's just me. I love that. See, being a teenager in this day and time would suck. Dave, you know what, brother? I agree with you. Mary, how are you doing, darling? Gaza, how are you, brother, from down under? Good to see you. How you doing? Lil Nam, how you doing as well? Linda Espinoza, good to see you as well. Lost in Space. So Bernadette, yeah. And there is something afoot. I think we have reached the point where inertia is so great that the chosen path, whoever chose that for us as a species, I don't think we can go back. It's kind of like what the title of today is. I thought we would discuss, had someone recently who, was remembered when I was a devoted Christian. And I guess they felt it was their ministry to reach out and rescue me from the devil. That I was obviously under the influence of something very powerful, quote unquote. It's like, okay, all right, talk to me. And the thing about it was, there would have been a time when it would have been abrasive to me. Now it's like, icing a cake. You take that knife that's made for that and you can just, you just swirl it and it's so smooth without any effort. Y'all know what I'm talking about, those of you who bake, and it's beautiful. And when I have people like that are trying to, and listen, I know that their hearts are in the right place. I get it, but yeah, under the influence of something very powerful. And what really gets me is that they can't answer the questions that I give back, The one that stumbles most, all of them, is explain to me who this God is of the New Testament. There's no history of this God of the New Testament. The problem has been they put in, because they made it up. There is no Father. It's made up. But they had to have legitimacy. They had to have the genealogy in order for the story to take root. It's a spell. And I've asked them, and I'll put it out there for those of you who are contemplating, answer me who the Father is. I want to know specifically in the Hebrew culture where they ever addressed G-D, God, ever as Father. Ever. And you can't be making shit up. You can't simply say, well, hey, we really didn't like that guy. He was kind of a jerk, he was really this angry, jealous God. I mean, vengeance is mine, Now you're trying to sell me this cat that's called Father, man. And you get the idea in one retrospect that, I kind of look at the Jesus thing as a smoke-in, I mean, you're there for spiritual purposes, and you have to admit it. There are certain natural herbs and substances that will put you in touch with the greater one. Ain't no doubt about it. But anyway, I see this cat sitting back and saying, yeah, man. Yeah, that Old Testament guy. Hey, no, I ain't got nothing to do with that, man. Let me introduce you to the new band. And our lead singer is the Father. Now, this dude's all about love. He's all about forgiveness and reconciliation. You're going to love him. If that's what the story had been, I think we would have adapted to it. But unfortunately, it didn't stay that way. And then again, we get into these arguments over and over. And so, after I had this conversation, I was just writing some notes to myself, and it looked at me, and I said, well, I have a certain, and I think it's not prideful, but there is a certain, I guess you could say there is a certain pride to being called an occultist. one who studies the hidden things. Now, if you look at Webster and some of the modern day definitions of occult, you will see it has to do with magical properties. But as we have well displayed here, those holy books are books of spells. That's all they are. I mean, here's the thing that I look at. If there was just one dude, because I don't find the dudette, we know where they did with her. I think, in fact, she said, you know what? Screw all of you. I'm taking my marbles and I'm going to be, and those who seek after her, we find her. She's not that difficult to find. But in any case, you look at where we are. And so you've got the big three. I call those the blue chippers. Those are the Abrahamic ones. And so they're under this multinational corporation. And the subsidiaries of the Abraham Covenant Corporation is you have, in rank of superiority of numbers, you have the Christians, then you have the Muslims, then you have the Jews. And that's how it works out. Powerful corporation. They've developed their own sigils. They have their own symbols. They have their own magic. The problem really becomes, when you think about it, well, all right, if they're saying it's all under this corporation, this umbrella, well, then who's the chairman of the board? Are you saying the chairman of the board is the same chairman of the board for this one, this religion, and this one? Well, that's crazy. So you could say, well, we got three different interpretations of the same being. Problem is, personality-wise, if you got these three characters in a room, I mean, you'd be back in Dodge City. This is the shootout at the OK Corral. I mean, these hombres, they don't play well with each other. They didn't play well with themselves, but anyway, it's neither here nor there. So there was a time where I had a very narrow, very restrictive, it was a highly bigoted belief in what God was. Now, in the certain belief system that I was in, if you didn't believe like the rest of us, well, that's fine. Yeah, we can love you, but you're going to hell. Now, and when you get there, we'll be looking down and saying, we told you so. Whew. So now that I'm in the occult and I've been studying it earnestly, ravenous appetite. And the one thing you begin to find out really quickly when you get into the occult, there's not enough time. There's not enough time. There's so much knowledge, and it has now been regenerated by so many generations that it's really difficult to determine what you're reading. When did it get created? Because we're the ones who create it. I haven't seen any God come down and invite us in and say, hey, I'm writing the next best book. The ending of Revelation is no ending at all. It's a cliffhanger. I mean, this next realm, this next universe, I have a sense, may not look like this one. But again, getting back into the occult, what you find out is let me tell you one of the big ones that Christians can't answer for me. They try to tell me, and you read it, it's a lie. I read it in one prestigious newspaper, or the article was saying the Bible, the oldest book known to man. That's bullshit. Number one, it ain't that old. And it's obviously a very ignorant individual who doesn't know what he or she is writing about. Because none of them want to address the Sumerians, who just happened to be around 2,500 years before the first Israelite was ever thought of. And their patriarch comes from Sumer. But why is it all those times that I was in Bible class and in study of the books, did not one of us raise our hand and say, point of challenge here? I'm a little confused. You got this Abram dude. Yeah, you know him, man. The guy come from Ur of the Chaldees, which was a district of Sumer. His family were into worshiping, which can only be, if you want to say Inanna, if it was very clear, I think probably Abram was worshiping Lilith. Oh, shit. Ain't supposed to say that. But nevertheless, he was still in Sumer. And they don't teach you to be cognitively to think free, because the first question you got to ask, so let me get this story right. He comes down off the pyramid, says, I'm leaving, man, leaving fortune, leaving everything, and I'm out on a sojourn. Why? Well, I had this dream that this thing, I don't know, doesn't tell me its name, but it says it's calling me out into the country. You sure you didn't eat too many mushrooms, man? No, man. It's just natural. So Abram goes out in the wilderness. Now, no one's asking the question. So now he's meeting this deity, or so it calls itself that. It's an entity. And what is the first thing? Now, if they had been honest, they should have given some reference to Enki and Enlil. I mean, they took the story of creation from them, turned it around, put it through the Slice-O-Matic 3000, and regurgitated it into their story. But no one's asking those questions, because Abram, he would have known who Enlil was. He damn sure would know who Enki is. But yet, so he's out there in the middle of the wilderness. And what does this thing tell him? First, he presents him with the contract. Says, what do you think of it? Well, let's see. Yada, yada, yada. You're going to make me rich? Oh, yeah, I'm going to make you real rich. You're going to give me all this land? Oh, yeah. All of it. All right, so what do I got to do here? Well, you know that big ox you have out there? Yeah. Well, you got to bring it up here, going to make this circle. And then you got to put it in the center. And then you have to slaughter it. Now, once you've done that, and the blood and the gore, you've got to split it in two, and you've got to walk through it. And then you've got to repeat this thing. And then I will come down and I'll consume it. And then you and I have a contract, right? I mean, wait a minute. It sounds like it's a scam right from the beginning. But anyway, My friend couldn't answer that question because, that isn't relevant. And again, it goes right back to the point of this entry, this monologue, if you want to call it, of saying, who's the Father? I mean, I just want some legitimacy. Who is the Father? Because if you keep referencing everything to this Abrahamic cult, your belief systems, even the New Agers are Abrahamic followers. They adapt to the Abrahamic spell. It's just the way it is. A powerful spell. So anyway, and folks, I just quoted you the freaking book of Genesis. Go and read it for yourself. It's exactly how it happened. Now, minds would say, wait a minute, time out, time out. So did Enki ever require the slaughter of animals? Did Enlil? Did they ever require a human to do something that's so grotesque? I mean, I couldn't even imagine the smell. You're walking in the entrails. I mean, what the hell's going on here? I can't find any evidence of them ever requiring that. And when I addressed this individual about Lucifer, I said, if Lucifer exists, I really want to meet her. I don't believe it's a him at all. I believe it's a her. Maybe I have met her. I mean, so you're telling me that this is the bad guy, evil. Well, folks, I don't know what evil is, but if you're splitting a live animal and making that kind of a mess, and this is sealing a covenant with a God who says that he is God, I don't want any part of it. It's nuts. Because I can't find Lucifer or Satan ever requiring a blood sacrifice of any kind. None. Zero. Never required a murder in place of everything else. What is it? Yeah, well, the inspiration is that people don't understand the history. There's a book I covered, and it's in the archives, the tribal wars of the Israelites. And here's the thing. The Israelites are not Jews, but Jews come from the Israelites. And in each one of these, you're led to believe that these tribes were only worshiping Yah. It's not true at all. They were worshiping many different gods. They were not monotheist. They were polytheist across the board. They adapted the same belief systems that came from the Canaanites, that came from Mesopotamia, which came from as well Babylonia, and let's go all the way back to Sumer. And if we wanted to get real technical, we could go now into the Indus Valley and begin to find out that there was a human bridge from what we call the cradle of civilization to where maybe another civilization was already in existence. That is into India. And then we get into Indo-Asia, and then we get into Asia itself. I don't know. Certain tells me it's, what if this was, let's just see. Mike says he required us to believe the lie for punishment, but he secretly wanted us to know the truth so he could relax. I don't know which one we're talking on that one, but anyway. So, and it's very clear to me, this is just my opinion, So let's look at all possibilities here. Number one, that we're living in this simulation where this reality has been predicated upon a book that it happened to come upon, which has been very recent. And I say recent, within the last couple thousand years, and wrote a script that the only way that they can get rid of us, because we apparently hold the deed to the planet, is to remove us, terraform our planet for a new evolution. Okay. Two, we could be living in the tribulation, that this is the book of Daniel, 70 weeks, and that we are truly living in that 69th, 70th week, which would then buy into, well, then we are in fact living in what we would call the trib. And listen, there's kind of a certain amount of justification to it. Got to be honest. I mean, we did have about 3.5 years of prosperity, abundance. That's no joke. Now, you could say that, well, now we've entered into Joseph's dream of the cows being malnutritious, starving, and eating each other. That freaked Pharaoh out. Okay, let's continue. Then the next possibility in the world of all possibilities, we're an insane species. We are so insane that apparently we've done this before. We always seem to self-annihilate us. Okay. Or maybe number 4 could be the old ones. They're back. Maybe it's true. In certain lore says that they sleep. They can sleep for thousands of years, tens of thousands of years, even longer. So what would they look like? Remember, I didn't cover this the way I really should have gotten into this book. But this is the old ones. And I wanted to bring this out. So allow me to pull this up so we can all see it a little bit better. It says, there is a power older than witchcraft and greater than magic that we can use to draw things down from unknown places and call forth forces from outside the spheres. This gentleman who wrote this book says, I am Scorpio, and this is the book of my knowledge. You will find mysteries in these pages. It is written for those seeking knowledge of older things. This is the testimony of all that I have seen and all that I have learned. For this is the book of the old ones. The old ones were, the old ones are, and the old ones shall be. In the dimly understood by science area of magic, which you are about to explore, the old ones equate to the elemental forces of earth, air, fire, and water. Now, oddly enough, any Bible student would read this, basically the same elements in the book of Genesis. That's how creation takes place. Call it magic. I mean, if you have command and you can bring in the basic elements, yeah. However, I do believe that there's technology involved, but that's neither here nor there. In the first part of this unusual book, you're going to learn how to bring the surging powers of the old ones into your life. In the pantheon of the old ones, there are 6 primary beings. There is Azathoth, the primal chaos. Yog Sothoth, the all-in-one and the one in all. there is another one, and I believe I got this one right. Nerlat Otep, the god of 1,000 forms. You have, Hashtor, the voice of the old ones. You have, and I believe that is Chutlul, the lord of all magic. Shub Nagrath, the black goat of 1,000 young. What a group. Could you imagine playing poker with this group? Holy crap. I mean, hello, that would be quite the card game. We're not done yet. The name of Cthulhu is pronounced Cthulhu with the emphasis on all 3 syllables. Cthulhu. There we go. Is that Cthulhu? Keep this, and we're going to call them into our mist. The whole secret of magic. The power of the old ones has been used for centuries under different names. At the root of all magic and witchcraft is the power of the old ones. Unfortunately, over the centuries, the basic principles of contacting the old ones have been elaborated into such, a mishmash of weird theories, strange ingredients, and complicated ritualistic disciplines that the original concept is virtually buried in it, like the proverbial needle in the haystack. In this book, he says, I have stripped away the accumulation of nonsense and gibberish. All right. And that has kept the arcane wisdom of the ages for being used properly and present what I believe are the fundamental truths in terms of magical practice. I'm well versed in magical practice. I got up for decades, well, sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning, many times about 4:30. I would pray in tongues, usually about a good half hour, sometimes if the spirit moved, longer, and then spend another hour in studying the scriptures, which all I was doing was reinforcing the spell. Now, my former Christian friends can't figure out why I can still speak in tongues. That's a gift of the Holy Spirit. How does that happen? Oh, it's gibberish now, but it was speaking in tongues then. Now, my mind speaketh, but my tongue know not what. It is my belief that once you bring the old ones into your life, opposition is overcome and problems go away. Sometimes only the simplest methods are needed to do this. A single word of power can be effective in some cases. Now, I'm going to leave off here. We're going to come back here because this book has only started. Again, my contention is that the principles, whether it's occult, whether it is religion, however you want to put it in, all center around the same basic functions. You're looking for power. I mean, that's why people go to church. Not anymore, but it used to be. People wanted to see the power of God in action. That's why they came together. That's why they sang songs, hymns. That's why they did invocations. That's why they did calling them down. That's why they channeled. Yes. In my former religion, now we didn't call it channeling. We called it the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. Discernment. But it is the same exact thing. And we were good at it. I mean, that's what you want to see. You want to see the miraculous. You want to see the paranormal. That's the only reason why people come. And you got the community and the friendship thing. I mean, that all plays a role. But when you get into the ritual and the doors are closed, and as you see the elders, deacons, the bishops, all taking their place, you're inside some powerful magic. And people are just so, they're just ignorant because they think that this is normal. Well, when you start duplicating that over and over again, wow, it's powerful. And if you get within every congregation, there are empaths, there are intuitives, there are, in fact, witches, there's wizards. Now, they have to surrender their gifts, their spirit, and then channel, and this is what's happening, channel this entity into themselves. Oh, you have prophets and prophetesses within the congregation. Those are direct channelers. I mean, we weren't taught that that's what was happening, but that's what is happening. And the thing about it is, in some denominations, it's done every Sunday. Some are done like every fourth Sunday, every first Sunday, you have communion. Now that's when it gets really serious, because now you're bringing in, you're invoking the powers of blood. So folks, I'm just merely expressing to you what I went through. Now, the difference between what I see in occult, and you could say occultism, it's an ism of some kind, is that in the occult, I can't find guilt. I can't. You know, and so many people frame the occult around fear. No, I found more fear in my former religion than I ever did in the occult. In fact, I can be very candid with you. I found a great deal of liberation. Not like anything else, there are many different perspectives. I mean, take, for instance, a protractor, right? Now, I do drawing and what have you, but you see, there was a time when an instrument like this would be considered an instrument of the gods. Because with this instrument, I can draw what the gods created. I can begin to have an understanding of what a sphere is. I can begin to have an understanding of the radius of a circumference. I can begin from here to launch me into potential space travel. Simple little instrument. It's just that away. Now, there is a book, and I'm just reading it. Shadowfile says a cult became a cult due to the Masons wanting to keep the knowledge to themselves. Isn't it always true? You get these assholes. Now, today in most governments, and here in the United States, we have the soulless ones. They are, and I will just be very blunt. This current administration is filled with very evil, what we would define as evil. They have no soul, none. They answer to no God. They don't believe in a God. And we know this because of their actions. They are enslavers. Now, whether they made a deal and allowed to move in, to enter in, most likely. You know, There's things that go behind the curtain. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you live in the United States, the House of Representatives is a temple. And I've covered that enough on this channel that you should begin to see how all of these things are coming together. Now, I contend, and it's interesting, this group, we've been together for, it's odd to say, but nearly a decade. And many of us have seen the transformation was kind of slow at first, but it has definitely sped up. So I thought it would be something for us to do. I have this in my Kindle. This is a book by John Michael Greer. Some of you may be familiar with his writings. This is The Way of the Golden Section. This is a manual of occult training. Now, the interesting thing about this is that there's 52 exercises, and you do one each week. And I thought that, well, wouldn't it be kind of cool if we were to get in here and kind of do it as a group? So let's go and see chapter 1, The Path of Occultism. It says, from the earliest times, human beings have recognized that we live in two worlds at once. One of these worlds is made up of the things we can explore with our 5 ordinary senses. The other is made up of things that can't be encountered so easily. We can speak of these two worlds as worlds of matter and spirit, or the seen and the unseen. Excuse me, folks, I got an eyelash in my eye. Most kinds of human knowledge deal with the world of matter, with things we can see and feel and sense directly or with the help of instruments. Occultism is different. It is the study of the unseen. The word occult literally means hidden. It has nothing to do with the word cult. When the moon or the planets move in front of a star, astronomers say that the star has been occulted. The things that occultists study are hidden from our senses the way an occulted star is hidden. What hides the world of the unseen from us, however, isn't some external thing like a moon or a planet. It is internal to us. Most of us have not yet developed the inner sense that would enable us to experience the world of spirit the way we experience the world of matter. Down through the years, many different types of developing those inner senses have been worked out, and not all of them focus on the same set of inner senses. This book teaches one such way of development. The practice and teachings in the pages ahead are meant to help you develop the power of intuition. This is exactly what the words sounds like: intuition, inner teaching, the inward knowledge that enables the human mind to grasp things that are normally hidden from it. The development of intuition leads to wisdom, the sense of truth that makes it possible to live in creative harmony with the world. It leads to revelation, the sudden flash of insight that reveals the unknown. Ultimately, it leads to enlightenment, the state in which wisdom and revelation are permanent conditions of the soul. Occultism isn't a religion, but it deals with some of the same topics as religions. For example, the afterlife and the nature of the soul. Some of what occultism teaches about these subjects differs from the way many religions teach, though, of course, religions also differ from among themselves. Though some religious leaders insist that religion and occultism are incompatible, plenty of occultists are also Christians, Jews, or members of other religious traditions. Occultism doesn't teach faith and morals. If you want those, your local church, synagogue, temple, or other religious organizations is the place to look. The great difference between occultism and religion is that in occultism, there is no place for blind faith. As a student of occultism, you'll be expected to learn and think about certain teachings, but you'll never be asked to believe them unquestioningly. As well, as we'll see a little later on. Furthermore, many occult teachings are meant as symbols, not as statement of facts. Do you understand how this works? We need to start by talking about two minds that each of us have. Here's a few words about magic. These days, a great many people confuse magic with occultism. That is a little like confusing marine biology with biology, or French literature with literature. Occultism is a very broad field of study, dealing with all the many ways the human being interacts with the unseen. Magic is much more specific, and mages, practitioners of magic, need to study and practice a great many things beyond the basic principles and disciplines of occultism. To put it another way, every mage is an occultist, but not every occultist is a mage. Magic has been defined as the art and science of causing change in consciousness in accordance with will. Like the rest of occultism, it has nothing to do with superstition or devil worship. Like other forms of occultism, it uses symbols of various kinds in order to tap into the hidden powers of the mind and the universe. It requires a great deal of study, practice, and plain hard work to master. This book will not teach you magic. The Golden Section Fellowship training is intended to give you a general grounding in occultism, not the specific training needed to get you started as an apprentice mage. On the other hand, if you are interested in becoming a mage, the training in this book will give you a solid basis in general occultism, and you can go on to other books for specifically magical training. My books, the Druid Magic Handbook and the Dolmen and Arc, provide instructions in a system of magic that starts with the same basic practices the Golden Section Fellowship practices, and you may find them useful. Objective and subjective minds. These two minds have various names, but in occult schools, they have often been called the objective mind and subjective mind. The objective mind is the one you're using right now. As you read these words and think about what they mean, it's called objective because it faces outward towards the world of objects that you experience with your senses. It is, in essence, is polarity. Its world is always twofold, divided between the self and not self, the mind that experiences and the world that is experienced. This is the mind you use to think and reason and plan with. More likely than not, it's what you think of first when you think of yourself. It is centered in the brain. The subjective mind, by contrast, is the mind that faces inward, towards your feelings, your intuitions, and your inner life, towards you as a subject rather than toward the world as an object. Where the essence of the objective mind is polarity, the essence of subjective mind is pulsation, the rhythm of the heartbeat, the cycle of sleeping and waking, the greater cycle that leads from birth to death and beyond. This mind is as much a part of you as the objective mind, but most people in modern societies have become estranged from it, sometimes even hostile to it. Where the objective mind is centered in the brain, the subjective mind is centered in the solar plexus, a complex structure of nerve cells behind your stomach, which functions as a second brain, regulating your vital organs and your life processes. The subjective mind is older than the objective mind, older in terms of your life, and also older in terms of life on Earth. When you were a newborn baby, long before your objective mind had its first meaningful thought, your subjective mind was already managing your heartbeat, your breathing, and all the other affairs of your body, gathering up dreams for you to dream and beginning to process of awakening your subtle senses. Equally, far in the prehistoric past, Long ages before living things first evolved brains, they had clusters of cells handling the things your subjective mind is handling in your body right now. All animals have an objective mind, however simple, as well as a subjective mind. Plants and though they are a single-celled organism that existed long before the great stream of life separated itself out into plants and animals, have only a subjective mind. Having been around so much longer, the subjective mind follows age-old patterns to a much greater extent than the objective mind. You can change your objective mind fairly easily, but you can't change your subjective mind except in very slow and gradual ways. It follows its habitual pattern of thought and behavior from day to day, year to year, life to life. It will respond to your objective mind if you learn how to send messages from one of your minds to the other. But its response will follow its own habits and desires, not those of your objective mind. What makes the subjective mind so important is that it doesn't just connect us to our own bodies. It connects us to other people, to other living things, and to the universe as a whole, by way of the unseen. Have you ever watched a flock of birds wheel in the air in perfect unison, as though they were parts of a single creature? The subjective minds of the birds flowing together in the world of the unseen make that possible. Your objective mind makes you a unique individual. Your subjective mind makes you one with the universe. Both of them are essential, and finding a healthy balance between them is important in the work of occult training. Fortunately, the objective mind and the subjective mind can be taught to communicate with each other. In the realm of the visible, the brain and the solar plexus are connected by certain nerves, which allows each of them to talk to the other. In the realm of the invisible, subtler connections accomplish the same thing. Symbolism. The objective and subjective minds also differ in the language they speak. Your objective mind speaks whatever language or languages you learned as a child or more recently, together with a range of mental images and the like, which you also learn to associate with different ideas. Your subjective mind speaks a language of its own, which it didn't have to learn and which is the same no matter what language your objective mind uses or what your experiences you had growing up. That language, the native language of the subjective mind, is the language of symbolism. A symbol is an image that speaks to the subjective mind. By image, here is meant anything you can imagine: a color, a shape, sound, a scent, texture, a temperature, or anything else that comes through your senses, by itself or combined with other images. Even a word can be a symbol, so long as you repeat it in a way that catches the attention of the subjective mind. Well, this is some good stuff. Many of us know exactly what's happening here. Take a moment before you read any further to explore the world of images. Imagine that you are holding a straight edge, like a ruler, but without inches or centimeter marks. Imagine that it's made of bronze, a dark copper color of the metal gleams as you hold it. It's heavy. It feels cold to the touch. Imagine tapping it gently against the nearest hard surface and hearing the sharp sound that it makes. One helpful hint may be necessary here. In modern societies, where so many people are used to looking at pictures on screens and so few are used to using their imaginations, many people end up thinking that mental images don't matter unless they are just as visible as a picture in a movie or video game. That is some heavy truth right there, folks. our species is being robbed. This technology that we've dedicated ourselves, and that now the new young generation spend nearly 70% of all waking hours. They've lost their imagination. And subsequently, we've lost creativity. Anyway, let's continue. This isn't true at all. As you imagine yourself holding the straight edge, you may or may not be able to turn that into a vivid mental picture. It doesn't matter if you can or cannot. Whether you see the straight edge in your mind's eye or simply know that it's there, it will have the same effect. A straight edge is a symbol. So are the pen and compasses and other two traditional tools of sacred geometry. There are countless other things that, when made into mental images, speak to the subjective mind. In the exercise and ceremonies included in this book, you will encounter some of those symbols and learn some of the ways in which they can be used. By working with them, you'll learn to make contact with the subjective mind through them. And since the subjective mind reaches out beyond the boundaries of yourself, you'll be able to use symbols as gateways to make contact with the rest of the universe. Folks, that's what we studied on sigils. And now all of us know when we're in traffic and we're looking at the car in front of us or in the rearview mirror or wherever it is, we now know what those things are doing. One life. The first and most important symbol in the teaching of the Golden Section Fellowship is also one of the subtlest. Around the world and down through the ages, people have understood that life is not just a chemical oddity that happens to show up in a certain lumps of matter called living things. Life is a force, and it is present in all things, whether or not we usually think of them as living. Like the other forces in the universe, it flows from place to place, gathering here, dispersing there, surrounding us, penetrating us, binding the universe together. It is the power behind healing arts, such as acupuncture, and martial arts, such as Aikido. It also lies behind many of the legends of magic and miracle in the legends of the world. Wow. And if many of you could begin to see that prosperity is a force, it's a ribbon, I tell you, you can immerse yourself. You can actually bring that ribbon to you. The life force has countless names. The Taoist healers, the martial art masters of China, call it Qi. Their equivalents across the sea in Japan call it Kai. The yogists and mystics of India call it the Prana. The Hebrew prophets called it the Ruach. In Europe in the Middle Ages, it was called spiritus, which is the source of the English word spirit. Whenever else you go, as far back in the past as you want to search, you can find a word for the life force, with one very narrow set of exceptions. As far as anyone knows, in all of history, the only human language that don't have a common word for the life force are the ones that are spoken in the countries of the modern industrial West. Us. In the Golden Section Fellowship, we refer to the life force as the one life. Pause for a few minutes before you read any further and imagine the one life. I tell you what I've seen, and it's normal for me now. Well, someone once asked me, though, they said, well, what do you think of God, or how do you see God? The thing is, I don't see God. What I see is it's a force. It's neither living nor dead. It's a force. It's palatable. It's tangible in my mind. I'm seeing it right now. And I've also learned that I don't go up to it indiscriminately. Get your ass kicked by yourself. It says, feel your own body, alive and sensitive, and imagine that the life you feel in your body doesn't stop at your skin. Life flows out from you into the universe and back into you from the universe. Imagine the currents of the one life flowing through you, connecting you to everything else there is. Then let go of the image and begin reading again. What you've just done is a simple form of working with a symbol. You filled your objective mind with an image that speaks to the subjective mind, held that image for a while, and then let go of it. Was it all of your imagination? Of course, but it won't stay that way. By concentrating on the symbol of the one life, your objective mind asked your subjective mind to begin to pay attention to the life force. If you repeat this practice, or more to the point, a slightly more advanced version of this practice, which will be covered in chapter 2, your subjective mind will start doing this as a matter of course. And your objective mind will begin to notice the life force too. With regular practice, you'll develop the ability to sense the flow of life force clearly. That ability will help you with a wide range of spiritual and practical activities, some of which will be explored in the passages that follow. So we'll just wrap it up here. I'll get the next paragraph or two, then we'll wrap it up. The three principles. One life expresses itself in three basic ways. And in occult teaching, these ways are called the three principles. Now, we've talked about the principles. These principles have varying names in different schools of occult philosophy. We all know we've actually done that with Cornelius Agrippa. The names used in the Golden Section Fellowship come from the Druid revival tradition mentioned in the introduction, but it is helpful to learn some of the other names too, so that you can make sense of writing from other traditions of occultism in spirituality. And I don't think I'm going to have enough time. No, and I want to give this the time. We'll pick this up on Wednesday. I got Miss Trina tomorrow. We may just pick it up with Miss Trina. The subjective mind. That's what this group has done. I mean, I know in a sense, we have formed something here. That egregore that we went through, it ain't gone anywhere. It's still living right here. So I think you were a great philosopher, a Greek philosopher. I love learning from you and this family. Well, thank you. Very honored. Mary, it's gonna make me blush. This is what I think we're supposed to do. We're learning things here and we're becoming stronger. We don't deal in subjects of fear. We discuss issues that cause fear, but we don't use it as commerce. We discuss things of the mind, of the soul. We all want that ability to rise above the present circumstances of this physical realm. There are laws, there are forces that are beyond us, but we are as much a part of us. And I continue to say this. If you have a person, I was a runner in school. I was on the track team. I loved running. As a child, it allowed me to escape the abuse that I was enduring at home. But my point is to this, you spend time running, and if you get a person who decides they want to start running, that person starting running isn't in any way going to be able to keep up with a person that has done it very regularly. And that's what I like about this group. Iron sharpens iron. Zuvalia, thank you. Yeah, I don't have a problem with worldwide. We can do however we want to call it. Prayer is nothing more than intense concentration. So that's how I see it. Well, thank you. We try to keep it open. I've learned that I've been wrong so often that, you say, okay, fine. I'm flexible, search it out and you read it and you're going, okay, maybe. And, you have that thing that you're not going to go directly in. It's kind of like going to that buffet. You can tell a person who is what I would call a buffeteer that really knows buffets back in the day, and because they're the ones that go scope it out. And by the time they pay for it and get seated, they got a game plan out. I mean, they already know exactly. Whereas you have the others that are just, and we've all seen them. They pile their plate so full, and we know inevitable, and they're never going to eat it all. But anyway, I digress. Hey, Scotty boy, what's up? All right, everybody. Much love to you. Beautiful group of spirit beings here. I love you all. And I just don't say that, as a cliche, it's true. There's a deep compassion and there's an empathy. So I'm happy about it. All right, folks, see you tomorrow with Miss Trina, and have the great rest of the day. This is Prosperity Day, so go out and prosper a little bit. Thank you all again, and